Well, welcome back to the halftime fun show with me, your host, Ted Trunk. I was going to say the Spurs show, and I thought that's another thing entirely, isn't it? So I don't want to infringe on someone else's IP there. We're so close, aren't we? Like those opening stages, right? We're so close to getting a happy one. Podcast, that is. It's not to say there wouldn't still be issues to raise or anything like that with the way we play and blah, 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 the bigger picture. But in just this instance, in just this isolated little pocket of a match, we're so close to be able to say, he actually started a bit more adventurously. He started Mathys Tel. I really like Mathys Tel. I thought he had a really good game today. Yeah, we only won 1-0, but great, blah, blah, blah. And now here we are again, sat here after a, deflating draw, which I guess it could have been worse. It felt like it was going that way. I was getting ready for Xhaka's winner. Could have been worse. It's not very Tadaris to do, is it? It's really, it is really frustrating because I would say the most of the first half, I thought we were really good. And I actually, for the first time in a very long time, enjoyed watching Spurs. I thought we were knocking the ball about quite nicely. As I say, I thought Tel looked really good. I thought Odebear looked really good. The two of them kind of going down the wings was really effective, really nice. Colomwani, I think when he came in for Kudus was so-so. As we've seen, I find him quite frustrating because I think he is very, very talented. People are raising the question as to how much he cares about Spurs and all that type of thing. The speculation I can't really be bothered to go into because I don't really have a strong opinion about it. Can't read the bloke's mind, All I will say is that when I watch him, I always look at him. I think he looks really talented, but it's just not quite. It's not quite there for him at Spurs. Will it ever be? I don't know. How much of this is on Frank today? I'm just interested to know. I'm interested to sort of, speculate that. How much of it is on him? He's set up in a way that I know people didn't really like the inclusion of Ben Davis, but I thought him and Tel actually linked up pretty well down the left-hand side, if I'm being brutally honest. I thought as I always do, and sort of I get flamed for every now and again, I thought Ben Davis was all right today. I thought he was okay. I thought that he was not, where our problems lied. Started off really well, knocking the ball about nicely. I thought we were going to get a couple, and then it just got further and further and further into the game, and we were sitting back, further back, hunkering down, trying to preserve that 1-0 lead over Sunderland at home. And I think it's worthwhile context when questioning how much Frank is to blame for this or not. I think for a start, we you have to acknowledge that Sunderland are a good team. I don't know how good they are away from home. Prior to today, they'd scored 4 goals in the Premier League away from home all season. They got pig form away from home. So the narrative that they're, a really good side and everything, maybe at the Stadium of Light, maybe they're defying expectations. They have spent a lot of money, but still wholesale. I think every single one of their players in the starting 11 at one point this season was a newly signed player. That was one of those sort of, little misnomer type statistic things, which, is kind of interesting. So they're doing all right. Still, with all due respect and everything, it's Sunderland at home, newly promoted side. I think prior to this game, I think in like I think it was our last 14 games prior to this at White Hart Lane, we'd beaten them 12 times out of 14, lost one, drawn one. So it's a fixture that we've always done all right in. And still, Thomas Frank's kind of perspective on this before in his pre-match presser was all tricky game. This, we're going to have to be at our best to win this, and it's just a bit like it veers into there's being respectful and there's being, you know, not wanting to come across arrogant, right? You know, I think it's kind of fair enough to say there's no easy games in the Premier League, but we'll give it our best, you know. We'll have the fans behind us. We want to continue this good form, blah, blah, blah. But he spent ages. It was a really long answer of his as well. He spent ages going on about how difficult it's going to be, how tricky it'll be, how great Sunderland have been all season, how difficult it's going to be for us to... It's more and more of that. Let's neg Spurs. Let's lower their expectations. Let's let everyone think I'm doing a great job when I achieve the sort of base, decent kind of performances that I have been. I just find it all the completely wrong vision for Spurs. I had a good conversation with Jack Pitbrook in the week where we were talking about essentially the point was, has Spurs' stock fallen? And I think these are worthwhile conversations for us to have, and it's worthwhile context for us to have. It doesn't need to be tied up in, oh, you've been so negative. It's not. I think it's a worthwhile, pragmatic, dare I say, conversation to have, to question, are we the club right now, regardless of our riches, regardless of our stadium, are we the club that can attract Julian Nagelsmann, Xavi Alonso to be our manager? Do we have to just, you know, for a crude analogy, bite the pillow and accept Thomas Frank for a while? Or Marco Silva, or whatever other Bobbins manager that comes along. And then I kind of think like, well, all right, if we are going to do the thing, if we are going to do, because the sort of point I made back to that was, it would be great if we could actually find the next Iraola. Let's find the next Iraola. Let's not go for Iraola. Let's get the next Iraola. Why are we always the team that's only looking in the pool of like Premier League managers already? Why are we never going out there? And he sort of said Ange was kind of that. I think it's halfway there. I said in the pre-match preview, so sorry to anyone that any of the patrons. My sort of feeling is that managing Celtic and doing well with Celtic, it's kind of being, you're kind of adjacent to being a Premier League manager. So I think it mitigates some of the risk, if you like, right? But are we gonna go out and get, you know, Herzler, someone like that Brighton do? Probably not. That's not what Spurs do. Are we going to be able to get a Julian Nagelsmann or a Xavi Alonso? As I said, we chuck loads of money at them. We sell them an ambitious project, maybe. But equally, I think guys like that are going to be looking at us right now and thinking, they seem like a bit of a bin fire. I don't know what I can really do with them. I mean, a lot of this really, it all comes down to the overarching footballing strategy laid out by the club. What is the vision of the owners, the Lewis family? What is the vision of Vinay Venkateshan? Outside of vague promises to spend money, outside of these nebulously defined metrics, we're going to be a great team again. We're going to give the fans the team they deserve. That type of stuff, you know, it doesn't really mean anything, does it? Got these sort of randos clinging on around the sides. Paratici, is he staying? Is he going? Make your mind up. Do you know what I mean? Get on with it either way. Johan Langer, is he? What's his purpose now? Is he just, you know, is he a guy that, fine, if he's a guy that just sits in a back room somewhere, is given a laptop, scouts a load of the young players, has his own ring-fenced little budget where he can buy some nice little players to chuck into the academy. Fine. But for too long, so say under Levy's stewardship, his role has become, I'm actively just buying players for Spurs. So Bergvall, Gray, all that type of thing that I would imagine falls under the remit of somebody like Johan Lange. Great players, really talented young players in their own right, but not players that should be seen as like the solution to first team issues. They should be players that are there in the background, developing, learning, getting ready to take their opportunities, not just being thrown in because we don't have anybody else. And I'm not singling those lads out. I think they're all really talented players. But what I'm saying is, what's the strategy at Spurs? And I know this is almost like pressing repeat on the same podcast over and over and over again. But that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like at Spurs, smashing your face into a wall constantly. What is it George Orwell said? The picture humanity, it's a boot stamping on a face forever. It's kind of what it feels like at Spurs. It's just like we're constantly caught in this loop of being like, what sort of club do we want to be? A good club. Great. Well, that's nice. But how are we going to get there? Well, we can't do those things because, that's going to be difficult and that's going to take time. I don't know. It's early days and it feels unfair, but it's just something about Vinay Venkatesh that I'm not really on board with. I just don't really... The noises out of it are not very encouraging. This sort of sense that if we just stick with Frank, it will come good because it did with Arteta. I know that's not like straight from the horse's mouth, but when you hear that kind of stuff, there's usually some substance to it, especially when, the sort of sources that are reporting that type of thing. And it just all feels like a bit of a mess, doesn't it? We can sit here and like impotently rage, like howl into the ether about Thomas Frank. I don't like this football. It's boring. It's terrible. All very fair point, right? Fine. You pay your money to go and watch Spurs. You want to be entertained. You don't want to watch that. You want to see somebody that sticks to the ethos of the club and all that type of thing. That's completely fine. But there's like arresting that the small problem, isn't there? Which is at the thin end of the wedge. Get rid of Thomas Frank and replace him, and we can maybe see some nicer football on the match day, so on and so forth. Marco Silva comes in and we at least play with a bit more substance or something like that. But just 2 links down the chain, again, those same problems exist. What type of players are we buying? What is the vision for the club? What is it we want to achieve? Success. But what do you actually want to win the Premier League? Is that the thing? Are you just too scared to say it? Because you're worried about getting tied into having to spend loads of money or whatever it is? Is the club happy to be a team that goes out and challenges for FA Cups? We want to become the Cup Kings again. That was always kind of Tottenham's thing. Yeah, fine. We've won the league twice in our history, but we've won loads and loads of cups down the years. If they come out and say, we want to be competitive in as many competitions as we can, and they're hammering down the manager's door every day saying, get us an FA Cup within 2 seasons. Get us at least get us a League Cup, get us an FA Cup. Every 2 or 3 seasons, that's the minimum. That's what we want, is a League Cup or an FA Cup every 2 or 3 seasons. Like Arsenal were like when they were crap. When Arsenal were bad, they were still regularly getting that type of silverware. Chelsea, another prime example. Even when Chelsea are miserable and useless, they usually win something. Everyone can have a laugh about winning the Europa, the Conference League, but they were in that competition and they won it, right? We as Spurs fans, and I think as a club, if we fail in the league and we end up in the Conference League, we turn our noses up at it and we say, oh, I don't want that. Why do we want that? It's a bobbins competition. That's the sort of stuff we need to do, though. We need to win those type of things. If you're in the competition, win it, right? That needs to be the direction from the club. They need to be pressuring people to do this, not just we want to be successful. Oh, we want to knock the ball about nicely in the league and then maybe get into the Champions League every now and again. Because we did that under Levy for years. And we had some wonderful moments doing that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to revise history on that. But we didn't win anything. We won the Europa League last year. And we had a miserable league campaign. But still, it was a very, very nice feeling. It was lovely seeing all of those heroes, especially Heung-min, actually finally have his hands on a trophy outside of an AI image or something like that, right? The fact that you've actually seen that. You actually saw Sonny holding a massive silver trophy, kissing it, lifting it up, the confetti everywhere, all that type of thing. I know it's all very proper football, man, but that's what football is. We want that. We're magpies. We want the shiny thing. Enough of this sort of stuff with Spurs of like, let's just tread water. Let's just do this. Let's just do that. Just win stuff. Like, go for it. But outline that as a vision. Venkatesh, come out and say, if you're in charge of the club, if you're de facto Levy now, right? If that's what you are. If you're the guy calling the shots, yeah, sure, you kick up to the Lewis kids, but you really are the brains of the operation. You're running the show. Tell us that's what you want. Tell us you want us to win. We love the feeling that gave the club to win in Bilbao. We want that. We want that more. We want that every season. We want to win every single season, and that's the directive. That's what we're going to be telling this manager to do, Marco Silva or whoever, Pochettino in summer. That's what they are charged with doing, is bringing glory back to this club. We've always been a club that's won stuff. Just call it out. We're sick of hearing everyone talk about Spursy and this and that. We're here to change that. Be brave about this stuff. Be bold about this stuff. Give everyone a vision. Give everyone a rallying cry. Give us something to get behind. Not just this meek, naff, boring stuff. And it's Frank is just like emblematic of that lack of direction and that lack of vision from the club. And look, you can say this is Levy's last man, but by all accounts, Venkatesh was a big part of why Frank is here as our gaffer, why Frank is still in charge. This guy can tread water, this guy can do this and that. Whatever, it just, But what are we trying to do with him? What is it we're trying to do? Not finish 17th. That's like the scope of our ambition now. Because that's all that we feel. That's all we hear from Thomas Frank in press conference after press conference after press conference. We finished 17th last year. We need to build this. We need to just go and win some games, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? You're playing Sunderland at home. I don't call it entitled. Call it whatever you want. Like, call it negative. Call it wobble-headed. I don't want to sit here as a fan of Tottenham Hotspur and see the manager go on about Sunderland at home being a tough fixture. We've got to bring our A game to this one. Grow up. Grow up. I'm not growing up, so you better do it. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club and Thomas Frank. It's fine. Like, everyone digs out Spurs. Everyone outside of the club will dig out Spurs fans, You'll see whoever it is, Chris Sutton or somebody like that, talking about Spurs fans being entitled and that you need to stick behind this man and all this stuff. Look at Celtic at the moment, right? They've had the American lad in charge for 5-6 games. They can see he's terrible. They were rioting outside the stadium the other night, like when they got done by Rangers. Nigh on rioting outside the stadium. But for them, it's always, that's they're allowed to expect that. Like, they're allowed to, because those are the standards that they hold themselves to. I don't buy that Spurs aren't entitled to feel a certain way about their football club, because you can continue to say, oh yeah, well, for the first thing they won in 17 years was the Europa League trophy. Yeah, that's because this lot took over. That's because ENIC took over and drove us into this place. And we've moaned about ENIC pretty much consistently ever since they took over because we always had a history of winning stuff all the time. Spurs always won stuff. That's why everyone hates us. They hate us because we could still turn up and win stuff. Yeah, all right, we weren't winning the league like we weren't a Liverpool or a Man United winning the league all the time. But we still always like look at the 80s, the amount we won then. In the 70s we got relegated, but I still think we won a bit then. What Europa League, UEFA Cup, like the first ever one. So I don't think anyone outside the club is in a place to tell us what we, if we feel entitled to this or that or whatever, because they don't say that to other clubs. Oh, they have every right to feel that way because that's the standards that they've set at that club. But that was the standards at Tottenham before ENIC came in and continued to negative. And I know it's not all bad. I know like not everything they've done is terrible. Yes, there's this lovely big stadium, and yes, we have enjoyed these periods of footballing sort of semi-success, if you like, at least. Mauricio Pochettino, Martin Jol, Harry Redknapp had some great times. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we haven't. We've had some wonderful, great times under those managers. Managers that really they kind of fell into as well, being brutally honest, right? But the crucial factor here is whenever we start to sort of have an upturn in fortunes under gaffers like that, they've never gone out. They've never gone out to try and do it properly, ever. And so right now, look, we're in the January window now. We might spend loads of money. We might shock everybody, spend loads of money, and we start looking decent again. James Maddison, like we can keep saying as well, we're missing all these players, blah, blah. Solanke, honestly, right now, I'll genuinely be shocked if he's back before the end of the season. That's the way it feels. Maddison definitely isn't back before the end of the season. Kulusevski, who knows? Another like Solanke where I'm not saying it will be the end of the season, but equally, would any of you be surprised if we don't see Kulusevski again this season? And as much as we love these players and as brilliant as these players are, like the rest of the footballing world doesn't care. It's not going to wait. It's not going to wait for Spurs to, go easy on them because they're missing all their best players. You just got to keep going. And they've got to keep doing that. Yes, it's relevant context. It is relevant context. I get it. But again, it's another thing for Frank to just say, because he did it in this press conference. Well, you've also got to realise that I'm missing many of my best players. You are, right? That's fine. But you also do have lots of other good players that you don't really like playing. It just feels, do you know what? It feels like I'm saying all this stuff. And in the back of my head, I'm just like, it just feels like such a mess at Spurs. It feels like there's so much to do and to sort out that it feels so easy to sit here as a podcast man. I'm sat here and I have all the answers. Blah, 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 blah. Because I say stuff into a microphone at the end of games. I get it. I know how ridiculous it all sounds. You just, what is it? It's like, what's the Stuart Lee thing when he says, somebody trying to understand his humour is like a pig listening to classical music or a dog listening to classical music. I get it. I get this sort of thing. Like we're not in there in the weeds of all this type of stuff. It feels very easy to say, what you need to do is X, Y, and Z. But what I am certain of is that the club can be doing more than they are and they have been and they continue to do. It's not all just about like leaking stuff through agents or whatever, telling people like Paul, like I'm no disrespect to Paul at all. Paul's a lovely bloke. I get him on the pod all the time. Like what I'm saying is, there will be certain people, there's controlled leaks, aren't there, that make sure that people like Paul get the information. People like Ali Gold get the certain bits of information that they leak to us. It's all well and good doing that. Why does it never come from you? Why don't you ever tell us what you want? Why don't you ever tell us what you want to achieve? Like I say, why don't you give us that vision? Why don't you give us something to believe in? Because you don't want to. You're too scared to, or you just don't want to. And we're all sat here waiting for Spurs to come good. We're all sat here, we look at the ground, we look at the fact we're in London, we look at the fan base, and you know all the pieces there are primed. They're primed for Spurs to be a huge force. And that's why people hate it. That's why lots of other teams hate us. They can say what they want. You can have Arsenal fans all saying, the thing they like to do is, you lot all just, you're deluded, you think you're this, you think you're that. It's not true at all. It's not true at all. We're a London club with a massive history, a massive fan base, massive stadium. We print money with this ground. The dynamic is there. Everything is there. The foundation is there for someone to just press the button and for Spurs to go and just win the lot. I truly, genuinely believe that. But also, it feels so far away. It feels so far away. And yeah, I know things can change in a couple of seasons and stuff, but things only change if you get people with that clarity of vision to do that, or the will to do that. And I just don't buy that it's there. If it was there, they would have got rid of this manager. Simple as that. If the will to do it was there, they would have gotten rid of him. Not this sunk cost fallacy stuff. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that so much now. Now that I've heard somebody talk about this and I sort of semi-understand it, I'm going to say that all the time. I don't even know what I'm going on about anymore. All that I know is that I feel in the pits of my soul, in my heart, all of it, whatever, I just feel that Spurs are a mess and it's going to take a lot of work to get us out of that mess. And I don't trust the people that run the club to do it. The buck doesn't stop with Frank. It doesn't at all, not by a long way. But equally, get rid of him. I'm bored of him. There's nothing to this. There's nothing to it. Yeah, all right, there's things that are going against him, blah, blah, blah. Get rid of this fella, man. It's abundantly clear he's not suitable for this job. Hodgson at Liverpool, Potter at Chelsea, all that type of stuff, right? It's just that. That's what it is. It's not offensively bad, if you know what I mean. And by that, I mean, we're not bottom of the league and we're not losing every single match. But we're just treading water. We're doing just enough. Oh, but we're in touching distance of the top 5 still. Oh, great. Well done. How inspiring. How exciting. How wonderful. Oh, isn't that fun? To dare is to do. To dare is to be within touching distance of the top 5. Not actually challenge them, just be within touching distance of them. Come on, you Spurs. Tottenham, no one can stop them. We're going to finish close to the top 5 like we did last year. That's not how the song went, is it? That wasn't a hit record for Chaz and Dave, was it? It's feeling all a bit more. Gertcha at the moment, isn't it? Tottenham Hotspur couldn't get one in. Mate. This is what other people are saying. I've been waffling on. My head's exploding. Head is on Mars again. Do you know what I mean? You got a telescope. Look outside. You see it there. Big red expanse. What's happened? Has the sun expanded? Is Mars floating closer to us? No. It's that pompous podcaster off on one again. His head now expanding, filling with methane. Like Monty Python's Meaning of Life. The geezer, it is only a wafer thin, the geezer that keeps expanding. I'm full. Yeah, it's me. Anyone ever play Theme Hospital? You ever remember this? This is not one for the kids. 6, 7 and all that, right? How do you do? Anyone sort of my age-ish? Theme Hospital? Bloaty head? When people would watch, it was such a difficult game. Theme Hospital. It was so hard. It was so hard. Good fun, but it was so hard. I miss those type of games where you'd like build, plan stuff. Do you know what I mean? Plan it all out, build the shape of the building, put all the desks in the chair. Oh, I'll put a chair there. They'll like that because they've got to go in there to the bloaty head thing and get it popped. So they need a chair, a waiting room, and it's fun, isn't it? Button Malone says, silver lining is we're at rock bottom as the January window is open. Counterpoint, it's Tottenham. They won't do anything to fix it. There we go. Exactly. That's what I've been going on about. Echo Sonic Music says, so close and yet so far away. Just distantly, isn't it? Distantly. 1-1 at home to Sunderland. For only Sunderland fans that have tuned in for this, I'm sorry, you're bobbins, right? Sunderland till I die and all. I just, Jack Underhill says, that was quite fitting. We're playing well, 1-0 up. Frank goes, too much fun. Activates Polinian Kerr, and we concede. Ben Mathys says, I don't think I've ever felt so checked out or apathetic. He needs to go. There's some nice talent in this team, but it needs to be honed by a proper top manager. But are the proper top managers coming to us, Ben, mate? Like, this is the question, isn't it? This is, I guess, there is to do. Let's try. Let's try and be embarrassed by, look, Julian, please. Oh, come on, please. Please be our manager. Like that. I've stolen that from The Simpsons. When the man says he's going to be, he can be very persuasive to get Sideshow Bob to leave town. So, oh, please leave town. Please, oh, come on. I'll be your best friend. I'm pretty sure Julian Nagelsmann's pied us off really publicly before, really embarrassingly. So, yeah. Benedict Fox says the team isn't very good. Frank is the worst. Not a good time to bring someone new in. We need to sign players, but can't let Frank dictate that. Terrible place to be in. It's miserable, isn't it? It's like, is it Escher? The paintings where there's like a staircase it's going around? But it's like you're walking around the staircase and someone's kicking you up the arse every step that you go. Quick, get to the top of the stairs and this person will stop kicking me up the arse. Oh, hang on. Wait, what's going on? Wimmer, hello, Kev, says, we were going for it first half, then Frank got his hands on them at halftime and told them to cut it out. It sort of feels that way a little bit, doesn't it? Pirate Dread Roberts says, not going to mention any names, but I'd rather have incompetence as manager than a coward. Second half was disgraceful. Thomas Mullen, fan for 60 years here. And I've said it, it's the worst Spurs side I've ever seen in my years. This is the worst manager as well. We should vote with our feet and empty the ground. We've bought rubbish players for 5 years. We have. And that's pretty stark as well, Thomas, I've got to say. Like, it is reassuring to hear because, as a Spurs fan I'm 40 years old, so what? Remember probably 32 to 35-ish years of it. I would say this is definitely down. Like, Christian Gross that we all used to laugh at and say was abysmal. This fella's worse. Like, it's terrible. Jonas Miller says Frank is a zombie. He's all but sacked in the minds of the support. But do you think the Lewis family are already considering his summer replacement? I hope so. Well, Paul was saying on Twitter in the week, Paul O'Keefe, I'm first name terms with Paul. Me and Paul go a long way back. I think it was last season I first had him on the Rule the Roost podcast. The Rule the Roost podcast. He said Marco Silva is a name that's been bandied around at the moment. Phil Mayo says hiring Thomas Frank was taking a risk by not taking a risk. And boy, has that risk not paid off. Yeah. Stel Morrison, another experiment in midfield. Players getting in each other's way first half, then reverting to type second half. Potential? Dunno. Coys. That's it, mate. Coys still at the end. I like that, Stel, mate. That's it's the important bit, isn't it? But still, it's... $200 napkins says, I've gone from being disappointed every week to being surprised that we've even threatened to win a game in the first half. And that's bang on. I was saying this to the lads on WhatsApp. Isn't it strange to actually just be like watching a Spurs game and kind of enjoying it? Like, oh, look, we're attacking today. Oh, look, he started a few attackers today. That's quite nice, isn't it? It's quite nice. It's what we've been reduced to. Noobadok says, we could have gone above the Mackhams today. FFS Spurs. Yeah. Simon Walsh says, for a team wanting to play in transition, it seems completely improvised. We only practice set plays. All that happens before that is just whatever. Does feel quite like that, doesn't it, mate? PG says, 1 like equals Frank out. Yeah, go on, that's it. Get the likes rolling in, anyone watching this right now on YouTube. Go on, there's loads of you watching. Just drop it a little thumbs up. God bless and all that. It is a new year. Please, sir, can I have another like? More? George Watkins, when did we last have a worse attacking unit than we do now? No goals in this team. Well, I do think there's some potential. Richarlison scores a fair amount. I mean, you know, it's quite mad. I've been leading the campaign to get him out of the club for the past few years, and now I'm like, actually, you know, let him cook kind of thing, right? That's what they say, innit, the kids? Let him cook. Let Unc cook us, yes? Era 7000 says, in my mind, Frank is the caretaker until the end of the season. Peter Turner says, it's 80% on him. We started pretty well, pretty decent first half. Then he's tried to shut up shop. I never want to see Polinia and Bentancur on the same pitch again. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, buddy. You're going to see him. You know? MJBTHFC 1991 says, what was that second half? First half was okay, but the second half approach again was far too negative, and the finger has to be pointed at the manager. The finger. Isla Lily White, hello, sir, says, hey, Jack, cheers to the pod as always. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so done with Frank. I genuinely don't think I've ever detested. Love it. Detested a manager as much as him. Seems like an all right bloke. He just doesn't get it. Get Yol in. I wonder what Yol's doing nowadays. How old is old Big Martin Yol? He's got to be he's 69. Ooh, I say. 69 years old. What is he up to? Without club. He was the director of sport at ADO Den Haag. So there you go. He was doing that in 2021, and I guess, you know, that's 5 years outside of the game now, isn't it? So fine, you know. What a lad he was, though. He's got nowhere, but we don't care. Martin, yo. That's it. Joe, that's what we need as well. We need more players. I was thinking this the other day. Part of the Pochettino, the allure of it was we had so many anthemic chants, you know? Harry Kane, he's one of our own. Harry, son, he's on a... And we go Ali, Deli, Ali. So many good chants. He's magic, you know. Mauricio Pochettino. Now we're basically back to, come on, you Spurs. Come on, you... And it's not a dig at the fans, but what I'm saying is, got no players that people want to sing for, really, do we? You know? Nobody. We need those. We need those. We need that back. You know, Sunday school singing. That's what it is, isn't it? The evolution of. He's got nowhere, but we don't care. My, yo, my, yo. But it's that brilliant one. There's, if you are too young to remember it or haven't seen it, oh man, was it? Who were we playing? I want to say it was like PSV or like a Sparta Prague or somebody away in the, at that time, UEFA Cup, probably just before it was Europa League. And for, you see it for a good 10, 15 minutes or so, the whole stand, the away stand, we're all singing, mine yours, blue army, mine yours, blue army, mine yours. It was mad. It was like, it's unbelievable atmosphere. Why does that have to feel so far away, you know? This is the thing, you know, Spurs fans are all so entitled and all that. Primarily, right, even though contrary to what I was going on about, like wanting to win a cup every 2 seasons, we just want to enjoy it, don't we? Just want to enjoy football. All those eras, like Martin Jol's era and stuff, we were still pretty far away from actually winning stuff. It's absolutely quality. It was such a good time. Like people keep talking about, you know, Hotspur Memories on Twitter. Really, really good account to tune into. Like, stop talking about tuning into stuff, you fossil. You know, I mean, sitting there on your transistor radio. Oh, I can't pick up Hotspur Memories on this. Can you go up on the roof and wiggle the aerial? It's pathetic, isn't it? Just call it a day, mate. What are you doing? What are you doing sat here whiffling on this? Prat. Seeing all the good memories from like Hotspur Memories, seeing all those like epic games of yesteryear, right? As people keep saying, it's just painful watching that now. We just drift further and further. I mean, look, we won Bilbao. Like, that was great. That was wonderful. That's sort of like on a little cloud on its own, isn't it? But outside of that, past 5 years, it's misery. It's terrible. It's not even like fun trenches. It's not even fun trenches when you got Jurgen Klinsmann scoring 4 goals at Wimbledon to keep us in the Premier League or whatever. You know? It's just Pierre-Emile Højbjerg scoring a winner against, you know, Dog and Duck FC or whatever. Yay. To dare is to do. Oliver Lillywhite says, I'm also glad he played Tel. Don't get me wrong, but it's another case of Frank completely freezing out a player only to start them randomly the next week. Clueless. RS9Coys969 says, I don't even really know what's wrong with us. Just a nothing team in all respects. Jimmy Regal says, I actually have some sympathy for Frank on this one. Forwards just aren't good enough to create and score the chances our dominance required. Yeah. But like, how much like room does he give the team to create chances for those forwards? You know, when chances are at such a premium, I can sort of understand why there's a look. It doesn't excuse it entirely, but what I'm saying is when chances are at such a premium, there's such pressure on all of the attacking players, and it's not like we really like work hard or have systems in place that allow the team to create or to attack. Basically, anything that helps the attacking unit. I do think there's talent there. You know, I do think there is. Yeah, it's not Kane and Son. Don't get me wrong, it isn't, but. Ricochet Pig also says, it's a worry how ineffective the counterattacks are. This team wastes so many good chances to break. Yeah. JBSP201X says, thought Tel and RKM were good as wing options. More direct, wanted to take their man on, looked lively. Odobert and Kudus aren't at it recently. Deuce is wild, playing for a 1-0 for 60 minutes. Mourinho without the aura. Yeah. Gazetronic says, toot toot, Thomas the Frank engine. The train terminates here. I don't think it does though, mate, you know. Shopping at Kmart's, here we go. I actually felt fairly positive about that performance. Maybe it's just copium. But I thought Tel and Odegaard both showed more promise. I also unironically think Davis needs to start over Spence. I mean, the Davis-Spence stuff is... I thought Davis was fine. I always think Davis is very good, but I'm sort of... I can't be bothered to, like, keep putting my head over the parapet on that one because, you know... I know what you mean. Like, Tel and Odegaard were very good. Like, they were very good for a time. They were very good for a while, but, you know, also... Mr. Stephen Stotch says, so bad. There's nothing to be positive about with this bloke. Honestly, worse than Nuno, IMO. Well, here we go. William Gardner, hello, mate, says, Frank in until May. Then boot him out and get Poch. I don't want a permanent appointment this season, then miss out on Poch again. I just think we got to do it. That's my take on it. Even if it's just, you know, I'm worried he'll tarnish. It's not going to tarnish a legacy. Those memories will still be there. Just get him in. Just get him in. It's always going to linger. That thing's always just get him in. I just want him back. I do. Jack Law 704 says, came out second half petrified of winning the game. It just isn't working and hasn't worked all season. As fans, we know when something or someone isn't right, and that's Frank. It will just never work. That's it, isn't it, mate? Like it's bang on. It's bang on. Yeah, like I think so often like we put these like arbitrary constraints on ourselves. Like, don't say that now. We can't tell. Like, we might turn a corner. Why? We obviously won't. Like other clubs that supposedly want to be successful, as I say, Chelsea or Liverpool, with their sort of similar examples of managerial appointments, they don't just let this stuff linger. Spurs cannot. We just can't. We can't. It's abysmal. Chirpy Wiggins says, this is the poorest squad we've had in over 30 years. I agree with that. Headed up by a clueless manager. Terrible combination, and it's going to get worse. Ollie Whitefoot says, the team has a weak mentality and this permeates from the top. Teams see us as being able to be got at. Yep. The longer this goes on, the more damaging long-term it will be. I do wonder that. I do wonder, like, if other clubs are starting to view us differently, like you say. I think even on Sky Sports, I'm pretty sure on Sky Sports they were saying before, you know, when the players are all lining up in the tunnels and everything, whoever it was on the comms, maybe probably Alan Smith in there, was saying teams come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium now with belief that they can get something. And that's so crap. Yeah, nothing more to say than that. It's just what it is, isn't it? It's crap. Ample Sample says, I'm glad Frank told the lads at halftime to stop pushing forward and trying to create stuff. Yeah, as a fellow hater of fun and joy, that's, yeah, I agree. It's fantastic, yeah, bit of management in that. Mitch K32, are we more at risk of relegation if we keep Frank or sack him? We're playing the worst football in the league outside of maybe Wolves. Hard to say, isn't it? Either way. You know, people don't like that conversation. You know, not everyone's as brave as me in terms of being willing to step up and wrap their big fat mouth around the conversation of relegation. But I am that man and I will do that. I don't think we're above it. I don't think any team in the Premier League is above it, really. You get sucked into that vortex. And you know what? I actually got a message from a good friend of the show, Tom, who said that he lives in the Midlands, basically. And he said that he had, I think it was after football training or something the other day, he had both a Villa fan and a Birmingham fan coming together to talk about how brilliant it would be if Spurs got relegated, how funny they'd find it. And I think that's the attitude across it all. We're just despised, but we're sort of despised in that comedy way. It's really good when, if anyone used to watch the Fast Show, bugger man, well, Unlucky Alf or something, I think he was called. All the bad stuff would happen to him all the time. He'd step into a big puddle, or he'd miss the bus, and then the bus stop would fall on his head and all that type of stuff, right? I think people just like that with Spurs, They went for the Champions League and they nearly got there, but then they all ate a lasagna and got diarrhea, and that's why they missed out on the Champions League. Staggers says his insistence on Polina and Bentancur will be the death of this club. This coward lowers the bar every game. Dominic Manto said, I thought Tel was our best player today, trying to take players on and make attempts on goal. If he heads out on loan, I will be devastated. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you very, very much. James Reed says, love listening to your thoughts, Jack. Thank you very much, sir. We are all on this hideous journey together. What a pathetic little entity Tottenham are. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Delphi Chronic says the only difference between now and the 90s is in the 90s we didn't overrate our players. The internet will tell you these players are good. The 90s streets will tell you the truth. They are bad. Pete Turner says, I think you need to give a team talk, to be honest. Well, it worked. It worked for that cameraman at Arsenal, didn't it? I sort of look a bit like him as well. And they're all or nothing. I love this club. I love this club. Every week we come through these doors and we want you to win. So you go out there and win. Pathetic. Pathetic. Go and take your camera, take a few photos and shut up. Goon and mug. MJBTHFC 1991 says, I think with better players, we will be more efficient with Frank, but we will never play the style of football we want to see. It will never be pass and move. It will never be a pass and move team that excites us. Pete Tanner also says Theme Hospital was legendary. It was so hard, though. Bullfrog made some great games. It did, what was it, Dungeon Keeper as well? Good game. Ridley82 says, I'm lost for words. I like to try and see the positives in all stuff. Did I ever play Paperboy? I did play Paperboy. It was very early days for me. My cousin had an Amiga, big like 5.1 floppy disk games in it. He had Paperboy on that. And I used to find it really hard at that point. Remember, he had Paperboy, he had Shadow of the Beast, which scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I think it actually gave me nightmares one night after I played it. Horrible. All these like Giga-esque kind of illustrations of these strange monsters in this slightly alien, bizarro landscape. It was kind of like folk horror elements, kind of alien-y type elements. Terrifying game, like really, really scary. Shadow of the Beast, it's kind of giving me like a horrible feeling now thinking about it. It scared me so much when I was a kid. Yeah, a few other random. Dizzy Egg. Do you know, it was a game called Dizzy Egg or something like that? Can't remember that on my cousin's Amiga as well. Good fun. Daniel Pollard says, first-time caller, long-term listener. Do you think social services will listen to my claims of the abusive relationship I have with this football club? Cheers for the therapy. Thank you very much, Daniel. I mean, they bloody well should, shouldn't they? You get less for murder and all that. How long have you supported Spurs? Simon Rush, I stuck £20 on a draw today. I had no confidence that we'd win. Every cloud, drinks on you, mate. Y Rob says, horrific performance from Bentancur again. Nearly got himself sent off at the end. Cue the new contract announcement. We've already given it to him, haven't we? Simon Rush also says you can get away with having average players if you have an extraordinary coach, or an average manager can get away with it if the players are extraordinary, but feels like we're average throughout. Yeah. Listen, Grove, I'm well into my 70s. I've been through a lot of garbage, but this is the worst of all time. As Will Farrell said, purgatory, you mean Tottenham. He's magic, you know. Praying hands emojis. Come on, lad, please. Please. You're of the same era as my dad as well, mate. And he, you know, it's good that you still care. Like, my dad's like completely, he's almost completely checked out now, really, of football. Let me just to be clear, of football. Ridley 82 says, maybe worth playing some kids next season, Moore, Byfield, Hall and Williams Barnett. Can't hurt to at least give them minutes, you know. Mikey Moore did very well in the Old Firm derby. That's, you know, but he loves it. Can I just say off, like, just let me be, I'm not being sectarian about it and stuff. I'm just speaking like, probably am, it's probably implied within it, but like, just loosely saying, Millwall's Mikey Moore, is there a club he's going to love more than playing for Rangers? Do you know what I mean? I'm surprised he didn't wheel away doing a flute or something like that. Like, you know, it's just, I bet he loves it. I bet he absolutely loves it up there, playing for them, for king and country and all that sort of stuff. Bet he loves it. Kevsky07 says, Romero doing his usual, I can't be bothered cameo, as he knows this isn't it. Dominic Manto, Bournemouth next, haven't won in 11 league games. Does a 3-4-0 loss get Frank the sack? Or does it take being 14th, 15th at the end of March to begin the media reports of the club looking at a new gaffer? It's annoying. Iraola is as much as I was saying, why do we always play it safe? Why do we always get these, you know, these managers from the Premier League and all that type of stuff? Iraola is he's the guy I wanted instead of Frank, you know. It's probably just because, you know, there's vague Pochettino parallels there. Sort of looks a bit like him. Football sort of similar kind of club, Bournemouth, Southampton, got them playing above themselves. Blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. I feel like that's the ball we dropped, though, not bringing him in, being brutally honest, you know. Walex says I'd take Mason, and then Zeros and Ones immediately says Mason is currently 18th in the championship. JM12VV says David Mitchell voice. Are we Tamworth? Acher says we need new owners. Gavin6535, we need a left winger to take the heat off Kudus, plus a much better replacement for Bentancur. How the hell is he getting a game every week? Michael Carroll, keep Ben on the left, Spence on the right, give Porro a rest. I see a lot of the call for, look, I don't disagree in terms of like giving Porro a rest, but I do see a lot of the kind of, it's a shame we can't play Spence in his natural position on the right a bit. I don't think it is, honestly. I know he's right-footed, but I think he's never looked that good whenever we've played him on the right, just in my opinion. I think we've always seen the best from Spence when we play him out on the left, because he can take it down the flank or he can cut inside and use that right foot. You know, it's just kind of how I feel about it. Like, I don't think he's been stopped from playing on the right because of anything other than the fact that he's better on the left. I don't know. Oh, well, I think I've pretty much, I can't do the players again. I can't bring myself to do it. I can't, you know, because it's just so nothing here at the moment. The system overrides everything, to be honest. You know, I don't want to be sat here saying this player didn't do this. I was saying naturally as a consequence of the conversation as I go along, but I don't want to really be saying this player did this. I would have expected more from that one, because I just feel like everything from the very top is such a mess that it's almost just redundant to be talking about the players on an individual basis. because I can't really be digging out players that are just in a fundamentally tedious and miserable system, you know? If you have enjoyed this, please do consider rating and reviewing, dropping it a like if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the pods, please leave a rating, please leave a review. The ratings all jumped up on Spotify for a while. When I was going hard on it, guilt tripping you all, I got quite a few more ratings, but still, it's not quite where I want to see it. Let's get to. I want to break the 1K likes type ceiling. All right, can we get through that? If you are listening on Spotify, please do just 5-star. All right, I'm not asking for any old rating. 5-star rating. Please just leave it a rating. Blah blah blah. All right. I know I'm begging. I will continue to do so. Drop it a like. Let's get to 1,000 likes, please. Yes, thank you very much. Same on Apple. I mean, I'm way off 1,000 likes on there, I think. So just leave a rating, leave a review. That would be handy. Thank you very much. Ad-free pods. You like ad-free pods? Patreon.com/RTR pods. Preview pods on there as well. And also an archive of evergreen stuff. Yeah. Come on, you Spurs. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Happy New Year, right? Yeah, all that sort of stuff. I guess so.